Welcome to my Great Literature audio podcast. Today is January 15th, 2014, and my name is Christopher Walensky. Today we will focus on Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Wuthering Heights starts with Lockwood, a tenant of Heathcliff's, who is visiting Heathcliff's home, Wuthering Heights. A second visit to the manor leads to an accident and a strange supernatural encounter, which catches Lockwood's curiosity. Back at Thrushcross Grange, and recovering from his sickness, Lockwood begs Nellie Dean, a servant who grew up in Wuthering Heights and now maintains Thrushcross Grange, to tell him the history of Heathcliff. Nellie narrates the main plotline of Wuthering Heights. Mr. Earnshaw, a Yorkshire farmer and owner of Wuthering Heights, brings home an orphan from Liverpool. The boy is named Heathcliff and is raised with his children, Hindley and Catherine. Catherine loves Heathcliff, but Hindley hates him because Heathcliff has replaced Hindley in Mr. Earnshaw's affection. After Mr. Earnshaw's death, Hindley does everything he can do to destroy Heathcliff, but Catherine and Heathcliff grow up playing wildly on the moors, oblivious of anything or anyone else until they encounter the Lintons. Edgar and Isabella Linton live at Thrushcross Grange and are the complete opposites of Heathcliff and Catherine. The Lintons welcome Catherine into their home but reject Heathcliff. Treated as an outsider once again, Heathcliff begins to think about revenge. Catherine at first splits her time between Heathcliff and Edgar, but soon she spends more time with Edgar, which makes Heathcliff jealous. When Heathcliff overhears Catherine tell Nellie that she can never marry him, he leaves Wuthering Heights and is gone for 3 years. While he is gone, Catherine continues to court Edgar and ends up marrying him. Their happiness is short-lived because they are from two different worlds, and their relationship is strained further when Heathcliff returns. Relationships are complicated even more as Heathcliff winds up living with his enemy, Hindley, and his son, Hareton, at Wuthering Heights, and marries Isabella, Edgar's sister. Soon after Heathcliff's marriage, Catherine gives birth to Edgar's daughter, Cathy, and dies. Heathcliff vows revenge and does not care who he hurts while executing it. He desires to gain more control of Wuthering Heights and Thrushcross Grange. He also wants to destroy everything Edgar Linton holds dear. In order to exact his revenge, Heathcliff must wait 17 years. Finally, he forces Cathy to marry his son Linton. By this time he has control of Heights, and with Edgar's death, he has control of the Grange. To find out what happens to Heathcliff and the newlyweds, pick up a copy of this great piece of literature. Now, what makes Wuthering Heights a great piece of literature is the themes of love and death carefully intertwined throughout the theme of Bronte's novel. Heathcliff is the center of conflict in Wuthering Heights. Although he has the makings of a romantic hero, Heathcliff is anything but a romantic hero. Traditionally, romantic heroes are dangerous, brooding, and cold in the beginning, but then they tend to change in the end. Heathcliff sadly never changes. His hatred for the Lintons and Earnshaws seems to have grown so deep that it is rooted within his very soul. Only Catherine Earnshaw holds Heathcliff's dark heart. She falls in love with Heathcliff, but sticks with the tradition and marries for money. Catherine states, "I have no more business marrying Edgar Linton than I do to be in heaven, and if that wicked man in there had not brought Heathcliff so low, I shouldn't have thought of it. It would degrade me to marry Heathcliff now, so he shall never know how much I love him, and not because he is handsome, but because he is more myself than I am." Bronte, page 87. The Earnshaws and the Lintons both have wealth. Heathcliff did not have any. At the beginning of the novel, he is broke. It is his lack of money and social status that causes Catherine to decide to marry Edgar instead of Heathcliff. Despite her marriage to Edgar, Catherine remains madly in love with Heathcliff. Catherine and Heathcliff's love is so strong that the two of them have become like one flesh. Catherine declares, "I am Heathcliff." Bronte, page 88. While Catherine is at the verge of death, Heathcliff demands that she not abandon him. "Why did you betray your heart, Cathy? You loved me, then what right do you have to leave me? What right answer me for the poor fancy you felt for Linton? Because misery and degradation and death, nothing that God or Satan could inflict would have parted us. You, of your own will, did it. I have not broken it. You have broken mine." Bronte, page 170. She refuses to give up her Heathcliff. It is after a fight between Heathcliff and Edgar that she becomes ill. She eventually dies during childbirth, leaving the wrecked Heathcliff to mourn her death. Heathcliff's love for Catherine is so intense that he curses her to haunt him until his death 20 years later. Catherine Earnshaw, may you not rest as long as I am living. You said that I have killed you. Help me then. The murdered do haunt their murderers. I believe, I know that ghosts have wandered the earth. Be with me always. Take any form. Drive me mad. Only do not leave me in this abyss where I cannot find you. Oh God, it is unutterable. I cannot live without my life. Bronte, page 176. Heathcliff continues to love Catherine even after she dies. 18 years later, he still cries out his love for her. Heathcliff tells Nellie in chapter 29 that he had bribed a sexton to uncover Catherine's coffin just so he could see her face again. He is ecstatic that her face has not changed much. He even bribed the sexton to place his body next to Catherine's after his death. Even the location of Catherine's coffin is symbolic of the conflict that ultimately destroys her. She is not buried in the chapel with the Lintons, nor is she placed in a tomb with the Earnshaws. Instead, she is buried in the corner of the graveyard. She is eventually sandwiched between both Edgar and Heathcliff, symbolizing the division of her loyalties between the two men. Even after the death of Catherine Earnshaw Linton, the cycle of forbidden love continues with the next generation of Earnshaws and Lintons. The love triangle is repeated, and so is the cruelty that characterized the first generation. I'm so happy you could listen in on today's podcast on great literature. Tune in next time when we discuss another great work in literature. City Lights is owned by Free Play Music, used for educational purposes only.